So macros. Why they matter on a GLP journey. What they are. And why they mean so much. Thank you. Flash goal. 3 hearts, or 3 roses. So if you're on a GLP like Mounjaro, Wegovy, Zepbound, Ozempic, you're wondering what the heck are those macros that everybody keeps talking about? And why is everybody talking about them? Well, we're here tonight to say we're going to show you what those macros are, why they're so important. Hi, Nancy. And why everyone keeps talking about them. So let's start with what exactly are macros. Hi, Riley. Let's break it down quick and dirty. Macros are the same as macronutrients. So if you remember anything from economics in high school, macro is large, micro is small. So the macronutrients are the large nutrients, the building blocks, and the micronutrients are the small nutrients, the vitamins and minerals that fill in those building blocks. So the 3 main macronutrients that your body needs in large amounts, because they are the building blocks of everything, is protein, which helps build and keep muscle tissue, carbohydrates, which are your main energy source, and fats, which are essential for hormones and brain health. Think of your food like a puzzle piece. Each bit of nutrients fits together, and each bit of nutrients fits into one of these categories. So microvitamins, micros are the vitamins and minerals, but today we're just going to focus on the macros. Why do macros matter so much when you're on a GLP? Hi, Ginger. Hi, Took. Here's where it starts to get real. GLP-1 meds help you shed weight, but how you eat determines if you are losing muscle or losing fat. So protein is going to be the king of all macros. Protein, protein, protein. You know, even the most inept doctors out there have at least said to their patients once or twice, be sure to get your protein in. Get some protein. Eat some protein. Even if they don't know why they're saying it, they still tell their patients, get some protein. So why is protein king? Protein helps preserve muscle while you are losing LBS. Protein helps curb hunger longer. Protein prevents that skinny fat that so many news stories are talking about, and so many doctors that know about these medications are talking about. And protein helps boost metabolism. So, does anyone know what skinny fat is when I refer to skinny fat? Protein is your biggest struggle, Diane. Why is protein your biggest struggle? Protein is actually a pretty easy one to get in once you realize what all has protein in it. So Diane, a typical menu, Alexa, turn down one. A typical menu on a GLP is going to look like this. You start the morning with a Profi. Have a K-cup over ice. What's going on tonight? I got a maybe. I know we're not wanting to block, but a typical day looks like this. You want to start the day with a K-cup, brew it over ice, and then put in a full protein shake as creamer. There you have a cafe latte. It can be anywhere from 22 to 42 grams of protein, depending on which type of shake you use. And then, so we'll just say it's 30. We'll go in the middle and say 30. Then mid-morning, you can have a mid-morning protein snack. That can be 2 eggs, 14 grams of protein. It can be a meat stick, string cheese, a tuna packet, some rotisserie chicken, some deli meat, a spoonful of peanut butter. Whatever your protein snack of choice is, have it mid-morning, a couple hours after your protein coffee. So you're already up to 45 or so grams of protein. Then at lunchtime, I have a full can of Swanson's chicken. That's 55 grams of protein, with a cup of shredded cheese. That's usually 65 grams of protein. Right there. That's my main protein punch throughout the day, is my lunch. And I nurse it over an hour or so. Then mid-afternoon, I have another protein-laden snack. So I'm already at 114 by lunchtime, and I still have supper to go. So, and I lead my supper, I eat whatever the rest of the family's eating, I just eat the protein first. So if we're having meatloaf and potatoes and corn, I eat the meatloaf first. If we're having lasagna, I eat the meat layer first. If we're having pork chops and potatoes and green beans, I eat the pork chop first. So usually protein is very easy to get in if you eat very protein forward foods. Protein is usually simpler to get in than a lot of people think. They don't concentrate on protein when they're doing their shopping, and that makes it a little rougher. Don't buy anything if it doesn't have protein in it. If you're looking at yogurts, look at ratio yogurt. It has protein added into it. Buy nutritional yeast and sprinkle it on everything. It has a buttery taste to it, and it adds anywhere from 5 to 10 grams of protein to whatever you're sprinkling it on. Per teaspoon, 5 to 10 grams of protein. If you're going to drink water, drink Seek. So you get a protein punch with your water. You know, protein, protein, protein. You can add more protein to your yogurt by putting protein powder in your yogurt. Cottage cheese is full of protein. But again, I wouldn't eat cottage cheese if I didn't sprinkle nutritional yeast on it first. There are ways that you find to sneak in more protein without upping a lot of calories. So protein is key. You want it for your muscles, you want it to curb hunger, and you want to make sure that you're not skinny fat. You can actually have more fat on your skinny frame than you did on your bigger frame. Nutritional yeast is in my Amazon storefront. Everything that I use is in my Amazon storefront. Nutritional yeast is under foods. And it tastes really good, I feel. I make my own bone broths. You can even make rice that is protein rice by, instead of making the rice in water, you make it in bone broth so it soaks up all that protein, and then you put the rice in the refrigerator overnight to lower the glycemic index in it, and that makes it a diabetic friendly protein rice. Now you can have rice in with your nutrition. Because I've had people say, well, I miss rice, I miss potatoes. Why? I have rice, I have potatoes, and I'm still almost 100 pounds down. And believe me, I am not skinny fat. I have muscle mass on me. So, too little protein and you will feel weak. You will lose muscle and you will hit plateaus much, much faster. I eat anything I want in moderation also, Amy. But we need to remember too that fat is essential. Fat helps keep our hormones balanced. And what have we learned over the last couple of talks? GLP is a hormone, right? So, if we want to keep our hormones balanced, we need to make sure that we are intaking fats. You want the good fats. You want avocados. You want nuts. How I told you I was way more hungry this week. Well, I ate when I was hungry and you broke your plateau. See? Awesome. Having nerve issues with Manjaro. Not usually, not as long as they keep their balanced diet. They've got to take fat in, they've got to take carbs in, they've got to take protein in. Like tingling. Tingling is usually a sign of dehydration. You can get a lot of tingling if you're dehydrated. So the first thing I would have them do as a practitioner is I would have them drink and take in electrolytes to make sure they are utilizing that water to the best of its ability. And if they were still having tingling, then I would look at other culprits first, like a new onset of neuropathy, if they're diabetic. You think your electrolytes are low. So we need to remember that fats are essential for the hormones, and carbs are not the enemy. You just want the right kinds of carbs. You want fiber-rich, slow digesting carbs, like the kind of carbs that you find in vegetables. If you're eating too little, or if you're just eating random stuff, you'll stall or you'll feel worse. Your macros are how you fuel your body. They're not just calories. They are fuel for life. Shouldn't have been drinking water like you should have been drinking water. Yeah. Blueberries. Blueberries. Blueberries are always the answer. Blueberries. Remember, you want to build muscle because muscle is going to require more calories. So you will actually cut weight faster if you have more muscle on your frame. You have to eat some carbs now or you get lightheaded. Exactly. So how do you figure your macros, what your body needs for fuel? Is it just some random number that people are throwing at you? Is it just some random numbers that, hey, that girl on the screen told me I should eat this much of that? Don't worry, I got you. Let's talk numbers and where that random girl on the screen gets those numbers. Because macros are very important. And the right macros are very important. So let's break down the macros the easy way. You had mostly meatballs for dinner, but you had some mac and cheese along with it because you need those carbs. You need a little bit of that good stuff too. So you probably ask yourself, how many calories should I eat in a day? How much protein is enough? What's the deal with all these water goals? Well, I am going to give you a super simple system, say that 3 times fast, to get started. No apps, no crazy math needed. We're going to go over it. And by the end of this, you'll be doing macros for other people. So, macros, you think of meat when you think of protein. People forget about the cheeses. They forget about the tofus. They forget about the other sources of protein. Carbs fuel your body and your brain. Don't forget your brain. Carbs can come in vegetables, not just white bread. Fats. A lot of people think of fats and all they think of is greasy, oily foods. And that's not true. There's fats in eggs. There's fats in avocados. There's fats in lots of foods besides just greasy fried foods. Your macro balance is your fuel plan for your body. It's how you plan on fueling this intricate system that you run every day. We'll keep it simple. We'll start with the calories and the protein first. Because usually when you nail down the calories and the protein, everything else seems to fall into place. The fats, the carbs, all of that stuff will usually fall into place if you can get a handle on your proteins and calories. Hi, Jen. Are you familiar with the triquetra GLP activate supplements? I am not. So first of all, to figure your calories, let's look at how much we expend in a day, which is exactly where the TDEE, hold on just one second. Hey, Alan. Sorry, guys. That was my son, and he never calls or texts during this time unless it's an emergency, so I had to take it. I'm back. Okay. I think we left off with calories. So, calories, you need to get enough fuel in your body and still support the fat loss, the muscle building, and the maintenance, depending on what your goal is. Okay? That's where TDEE comes in. It's the total daily energy expenditure. Yes, Amy, it is. It was just scary. Just gets the adrenaline glowing because he knows better than to call. But it's all good. It was one of those questions that was a panic to him because he needs to know the answer by a certain time, but it wasn't a panic to Grandma because it was one of those, I know you've got Natalie for a whole week and it's supposed to be just Natalie time, but our babysitter needs to have surgery, so we're wondering if you could take Jameson too. Well, yeah, now let me get back on the computer. Well, that's a no-brainer. Natalie will have another week where it's just Natalie time. So I was panicked because he knows not to call during this time. But it was an emergency to him because he wanted to get all this hammered out with the other grandparents. I understand his emergency. I know. It was an emergency to him because he had to get it all hammered out. Raylena, I have lost the majority of my weight on the 15. I did not lose anything on the 2.5, the 5.0, and I was halfway through the 7.5 before I started to lose. And then I have been on the 15 since January of 2023. So I have been on it 2 years. And I have lost 96.4 pounds. Most of yours was on the 12.5, not much on the 15. Did you refigure your macros once you hit the 15? If you were losing on the 12.5, why did you go up to the 15? Your doctor works for you. That's one thing that is hard for a lot of us to remember is our doctors work for us. Healthcare should be a collaborative endeavor, not a one-sided throwing medicine at you from afar. If you do not feel that you are ready to go up, do not go up. Tell them you're not ready to go up to the 15. You tell them I'm doing fine on the 12.5. I would like to stay on the 12.5. The only two things that should make you go up is if food noise returns or if your satiety is not there. Weight loss has nothing to do with dose. Weight loss has to do with eating in a healthy deficit. Okay. You're down 72. Are you diabetic? Were they trying to control your A1C? Postmenopausal type 2, food on 15, still have food noise and low suppression. Jen, were you here last night when we were talking about stacking? Hi, Pris. Hi, country girl. Oh, Jen. Jen, we were talking about stacking last night, and we were talking about what you do when you've hit the 15 and you're still having food noise or still having, we don't chase suppression, we chase satiety. So you still want to be able to eat. You don't want to be suppressed. You want hunger cues. You want to be able to eat. What you want is when you do eat that you get fuller faster. Fire drill. Let me shut the door. Hubby shut the door. Your A1C is much better. I wonder why your doctor wanted to move you up. Sorry. So it's working on your A1C. Why did your doctor want to move you up? Are they an obesity specialist, a primary care doctor, or an endocrinologist? Hi, Yorkie Mom. Primary care. See, and I love that the primary cares are giving us benefit of the doubt and letting us have these medications. But it's hard with things like this because there's only 6 doses. You don't want to rush through the doses and have no place left to go. Higher doses do not mean higher weight loss. It just doesn't. And the obesity specialists know that. The PCPs and the endocrinologists do not know that. They have not been trained well enough in them. Right, no advice given. You knew nothing about protein and hydration, right? And that's why the ABOM, the American Association of Obesity Medicine, is trying to get the word out and have the majority of patients on these medications find doctors that are certified by them. Unfortunately, most of them right now work for telehealth companies because they are trying to service as many states, as many places, as many people as they can because they're so few in numbers. There can't possibly be an obesity doctor in every city, in every state, in every town around that can see every patient that's on these meds. So they go out and work telehealth. And telehealth has such a stigma against it that people think they're getting lesser by going telehealth instead of knowing that they're getting actually superb care because they're getting an obesity specialist, someone that's trained in these medications, someone that's trained in how to move up in these medications, someone that's trained in how to guide their patients in these medications rather than just somebody that's throwing medications at them from across the room. So they want, a lot of PCPs, they want their patients to benefit from these medications, but they don't know how. And if you were to go to your patient or go to your doctor and say, well, I learned this on TikTok, would they be open to it? A lot of doctors would not be. A lot of doctors have the God complex, and they wouldn't give two squats if you heard something on TikTok. They're still going to do it their way, no matter what you heard. So we are here to help people remember that their doctors work for them, and be as stern as you need to be with your doctor about that point. You know, yes, my A1C is better, but there are 6 doses to this medication, and you go in there with studies. You say the SURMOUNT study, they did a 500 calorie deficit. They moved their bodies 150 minutes a week. This is what they did. This is, you know, you go in there with studies, armed with studies, and you help them to understand. And the more we get the word out there, the better educated our doctors will be. And if you have a young, I shouldn't just say young because that's age bias, but if you have a doctor that's not too proud to say that they don't know everything, then you are helping medical society learn these medications. So Jen, what we talked about last night was stacking, and that is when you're on the 15, where do you go from there? And we can talk about that when we get done with macros here, or do you have a time constraint that you need to get off of here? Because I don't want you to leave and not have answers to your questions. Or did you already leave? Did I already frustrate you? There you are. Hi, Tim. So, Jen, do you have time, or do you need answers now? Because we could definitely talk about stacking as soon as we get done with macros, if that's okay. You have time, you're just frustrated. Oh, I totally get the frustration. So let's do the TDEE calculator. The TDEE calculator, it takes what energy your body needs to use in a day, the total daily energy expenditure, and it gives you a down and dirty calculation of it. You just plug in your numbers, your height, your weight, your sex, your activity level, and it will give you how many calories you need in a day. And then we want to be in a 500 calorie deficit. Okay? So that is what the Surmount study participants were in, was a 500 calorie deficit. And as long as that does not take you below your BMR, that is a good deficit to be in to shed pounds. Okay? So if you're sedentary and you weigh 170 and your height is 5'3", your calorie requirement is going to be different than someone that weighs 170 at 6 foot, no matter what the activity level is. Does that make sense? So it takes all of that into consideration. And I have the calculator, the TDE calculator is linked in my bio. So if anyone wants to plug their numbers in, you can just click on my face again, and then just go into the TDEE calculator, see what number it gives you, subtract 500. That's how many calories you need in a day. Okay? For a lot of people, it's going to seem like a lot of calories. Many physicians that don't know better tell their patients 1,200 calories a day. Many diet plans tell their patrons 1,200 calories a day. That is a very old school of thought, and that does not work on a GLP. For a GLP agonist, which is what we are injecting into our systems, keep in mind that you are injecting the little brother. You know, Amy, I giggle every time I say this now, just because you're like, it's my favorite one. I can picture you back there going, yes, say it, say it, say the little brother, say the little brother. I could say little sister, but it's the little brother, the annoying little brother that we are injecting into our systems. And it needs something to hold its hand to go out and find the big sister that is sleeping on her job. And that something is calories. Calories have to hold the little brother's hand so he can go out and find his big sister, and he can kick her bed and wake her up and kick her bed and kick her bed until she gets up. And that big sister is GLP. He's the agonist. She's GLP. Okay? He kicks the bed enough, and she'll finally get up and go do her job. But he can't just cross the road and go out looking every place for his big sister. He needs someone to hold his hand. And holding his hand is calories. He's too little to go out there on his own looking for his sister. He needs someone to hold his hand. Calories. It takes calories for the agonist to go out and find the GLP. Once they find the GLP, they kick the bed until they wake it up and tell it, go do your job. And then she gets up and she goes and finds a receptor to plug into and do a job. So you have to have calories on these medications or they will not work. It may work in the beginning when you are in starvation mode, but you are going to plateau, you are going to stop working, and you are going to plateau. You need to consistently get your calories in for this medication to work consistently. So the next macro that we think about is protein. Protein. Protein is the most underrated macro and the most important macro. Thank you for the sunset. Thank you. When you're trying to lose FAT, here is the golden rule. Goal weight times 0.8 in grams per day. A lot of gym rats, bodybuilders, whatever you want to call them, are going to say 1 gram of protein for every pound that you weigh. That does not hold true for GLP people. Imagine our friend Jamie at 715 pounds. If he had 715 grams of protein, his kidneys would pitch a fit. It would send him into kidney failure. You cannot take that much protein in and expect your kidneys to be able to filter it out. So that's why we say in the GLP community, it's goal weight times 0.8 in grams per day. Why is this number so important? Because it keeps you fuller longer. It preserves your muscle. And it boosts your metabolism. A good trick is to spread your protein across at least 3 big meals and 2 small meals a day. So you're going to take it and divide it by 3. So like mine is 120. If I split my day in thirds, I want to get at least 40 grams if my day is in thirds. Okay? If I'm not on track to have at least my 40 grams, I add it to the next one to make sure that I'm getting enough protein in. And you can make up protein. If you're not on track to get enough protein by the end of the day, eat an extra cheese stick. You know, throw an extra egg in there. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Tammy. You know, why is this blank? You can always add more protein in. It doesn't hurt anything to add a reasonable amount of protein in. Now let's talk water. Water is not a true macro, but I threw it in with the macros just because we talk about it a lot when we are talking macros. It's still essential, just like the macros are. The baseline goal for water is about 100 ounces of water a day. But you're going to watch your urine. Seek gets you water and protein in one drink. And it is in the Amazon storefront. So you're going to watch your urine. If your urine is a pale, almost white, you need to drink less water. And if it's too yellow, you need to drink more water. You want it to be a pale yellow. So why is water so important? There's lots of reasons. Digestion and metabolism is one of them. It reduces bloat. It helps curb cravings. And it supports fat loss and detoxification. When people tell me their cravings are getting the best of them, when they start talking about cravings again, the first thing I will usually tell them is drink a glass of water, have 2 bites of protein, wait 15 minutes. If you are still craving, have a bite of the food you're craving. A lot of the times that craving that you're having is thirst. Your body will show thirst in some silly, silly ways. It will make you dizzy. It will make you shaky. It will give you headaches. It does so many odd things when all you need is a glass of water. If you feel thirst, you are already dehydrated. Did you know that? By the time a thirst signal gets up to your brain and registers, you are already dehydrated. You need to drink before you feel the thirst. You should be sipping every 10 to 15 minutes. Not chugging, sipping. Every 10 to 15 minutes. So putting all of those macros together. Calories you find on the TDEE calculator. Protein is goal weight times 0.8 in grams per day. And water, you want 100 ounces of water a day, and then you adjust by looking at your urine. That is your foundation. You don't stress the exact breakdowns of carbs and fats at first. Once you are consistent with your calories and protein, you can start dialing things in a little more. You can become more of an expert. Remember, the more you understand about your body, the more power you have over your own progress. Macros don't need to be complicated. This isn't all about perfection. It's about building a plan that works for you, your body, your goals, and your life. It is not about starving yourself or chasing tiny numbers. It's about health. It's about remembering that your body needs fuel to be healthy, which is what we're after. You deserve to feel energized and strong in this new body, not punished. You're not here to torture yourself on these meds. You are here to live a healthier life, get your health back, get your body back, and regain what should have been yours all along. Hi again, Raylena. I do take fiber gummies. I take 2 in the morning, 2 at night. I do not take a biotin gummy, but I do take a biotin hair mask. Or I do a biotin hair mask. So what do macros like that look like on a plate? If you do 4 ounces of chicken breast, 28 grams of protein, half a cup of quinoa, that's 20 grams of carbs, 5 grams of protein. 1 cup of broccoli is 5 grams of carbs, 2 grams of protein. And a teaspoon of olive oil that you cook the chicken in. 14 grams of healthy fat. So that right there, you've got 35 grams of protein in that one little meal. You know, a lot of us, when we're doing our macros, we're not thinking about the hidden macros. And that's why I think it's easiest, at least in the beginning, to use, you know, MyFitnessPal, Berrytastic. I'm drawing a blank on some of the other ones, but I know there's other ones out there. I use Berrytastic. And what I love about Berrytastic is I can literally speak the food and I can cut it in half. I can say half a McDonald's hamburger, and it will give me the macros for half a McDonald's hamburger added to my daily totals. I can say a quarter of a peanut butter sandwich, and it will add in the macros for a quarter of a peanut butter sandwich. I can say 2 sprigs of broccoli, and it will add in 2 sprigs of broccoli. I can say 4 peanuts, and it will put 4 peanuts in my macros. I love Berrytastic. It also does barcodes for free. I know some of them, I think it's MyFitnessPal, you have to pay for the barcodes if you wanted to do barcodes. So macros don't have to be complicated. They can be GLP friendly. They can be easy. They're not that hard if you need guidance. My DMs are always open.